Grace and peace. Welcome to Judah's Roar Domestic Violence Awareness Initiative YouTube channel. I'm your host, Apostle Cheryl. Before we get started, I'm going to give you a few seconds to check down here below the video. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Click that button to subscribe, and then make sure that you click the bell for notifications. That way you'll receive an update every time we upload a new video. And we upload a new video every Sunday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thanks for taking the time to do that. Now, today's topic is Dear Survivor, do what you can. Dear Survivor, do what you can. Listen, no matter where you are in your journey, no matter where you are in this relationship that is toxic to you and unhealthy for you, no matter if you've just entered it or if you've been in it for an extended period of time, there are a few things that you can do to better position yourself, okay? Now, one of the things that you want to make sure that you do is assess the risk associated with remaining in this relationship. You want to assess the risk. You want to assess the threat to your safety and your well-being and your health and welfare. You want to continue to educate yourself no matter where you are in the process. Remember, isolation is a primary tool of an abuser. And so when we don't continue to learn and when we're not open to receiving new information, we become stagnant and we are limited then to what the abuser wants us to believe. It's important that we counter whatever negativity that we are encountering in the relationship, that is countered with factual, empowering information. And the best way to do that is to be committed to ongoing education. Again, no matter where you are in your process, okay? So the first thing that you want to do is to conduct an honest, no holds barred risk assessment. An honest, no holds barred risk assessment. And then you want to conduct an honest, no holds barred threat assessment. And they sound similar, but they're really two different things. Okay, let's look at a couple of definitions. Risk. Risk is the possibility that damage might occur due to vulnerabilities. Risk is the possibility that damage might occur due to vulnerabilities. And a threat, on the other hand, is a statement of intent to inflict pain, injury, damage, or other hostile action on someone in retribution for something done or not done. It's also defined as a person or thing likely to cause damage or danger. So you want to conduct a risk assessment. You want to assess what the possibility is that damage might occur due to your being vulnerable in this situation. Okay, and then you want to conduct a threat assessment, and you want to look at developing a violence prevention strategy. So when we're talking about assessing threat, we're talking about responding to something that's been stated or that's been communicated to us or has been inferred, even if the words themselves have not been spoken. If an abuser puts a hole in the wall with their fist, they don't really need to tell you that the next thing they hit may be your face, right? You gain the understanding that violence directly aimed at you is very possible based on what you've just observed, even though they may never have stated those words to you. So you want to identify the possible threat. And the primary purpose of a threat assessment, is to prevent targeted violence, is to prevent it. Okay, now, developing a viable safety plan is a key part of assessing risk and assessing threat. In order for your safety plan to be doable, to be viable, to be an asset to you, you have to be able to identify what the risks are and where you are vulnerable. So you want to identify your strengths. You want to identify your weaknesses. A strength may be that you now realize that you're being abused. Another strength may be that you are currently employed. Another strength may be that you have a strong support system. A weakness may be your emotional attachment to the abuser. Another weakness may be that although you do have employment, you don't make enough to live on your own. A third weakness could be your vulnerability in the area regarding your children. Maybe you want to leave the state, but that's ill advised because of the parental kidnapping laws in your state. So, what am I saying? You want to conduct an honest, no holds barred look, take a good look, a candid look at your risk and at the threat to you. A threat assessment um, investigates issues that are occurring. Okay, so when we are addressing a threat, we are in a reactive mode. We're responding to something that the abuser has established, something that they have released against us, something that has been inferred or been laid out for us so that we understand that we are somehow in jeopardy. A risk wants to examine your vulnerabilities and where you may be leaving yourself open to it. Um, and when you're looking at risk, you want to look at, you kind of broaden the scope and you locate any potential problems and the degree of possible damage that may occur. And we're still saying, dear survivor, do what you can do. Do what you can. We're still saying, dear survivor, do what you can. Why are we saying that? Because our abilities and capabilities will vary. We are uniquely different individuals in uniquely different circumstances, even though our circumstances may bear many similarities. Our circumstances may bear many similarities to those of other victims and survivors. And so we want to encourage you to do what you can. All right. So you want to assess the risk and you want to assess any threats that have been levied against you. And it's important that you have a DV advocate, a counselor or a therapist that is trained in domestic violence, a ministry leader that is trained in domestic violence, not just well intentioned folk, but someone who is trained in domestic violence. You can go to domesticshelters.org. You can go to the Battered Women's Justice Project, um, the National Domestic Violence Hotline. So there are resources out here that are available. Womenslaw.org if you have legal issues pertaining to your abuse situation. But you want to assess the risk. You want to assess the threat. You want to do this in a candid way. You don't want to sugarcoat anything. You want to work with someone who's seasoned and experienced in these areas so that they can provide you with guidance, legal guidance, mental health guidance, physical health guidance, and you want to make sure that you're on good footing. So you assess the risk, you assess the threat, then you formulate a plan. And this will be like your safety plan. Any viable safety plan will take into effect the risk inherent in your particular situation and the threat inherent in your particular situation. This is why no two safety plans are identical. Okay, it should be customized to suit and to fit your circumstances and your situation. And you are the best judge of what the abuser in your life is capable of doing most times. Most times. If you've been subjected to extensive trauma bonding, if you've been exposed to intensive coercive control tactics and measures, then you may not have a clear focus. And so this is why it's important that you work through this with someone else. And we're still talking about, dear survivor, do what you can. Any plan that you implement will only work if you do it, if you're committed to it, if you can find the wherewithal to execute it. So assess the risk, assess the threat, formulate a plan. Do this with someone who is seasoned and who is experienced. A threat is what? A menace, a danger, intimidation, peril, hazard, an ultimatum. A risk is a situation involving exposure to danger, the possibility of something bad happening. Now, if something bad has already happened, what you know is at the very least that same thing can happen again. The other thing that we know, based on statistics regarding domestic violence, is more likely than not, things will escalate. So that's the baseline. The worst thing that has happened in your relationship thus far is the baseline, okay? It will get worse from there. Things will heighten and increase. The danger and the threat and the risk to you personally will increase over time. It's important that you are kind to yourself, that you hold yourself accountable, right? But that you don't make excuses for keeping yourself in harm's way. But having said that, do what you can. We can't do what we can't do, right? And part of being able to break free from any situation that is toxic to us is being able to grow to a place where we honestly know and believe and understand that it is a threat to us and that we don't deserve it, that is a threat to us and that it is unjust, that it is a threat and a danger to us and that it is unfair, that it is unwarranted. Once you reach that place where you understand that and you can embrace that, you're better equipped emotionally to move forward with a plan to separate yourself from the thing that is destroying you. But you can't do it successfully if you're not committed to it. And repeated attempts to exit when you're not really convinced and ready and sure about doing it is dangerous. On average, a woman leaves 7 times before she leaves for good, and that's if she lives long enough to get out that 7th time, okay? And so it's important. It's important that you be kind to yourself, that you extend yourself some grace, but that you hold yourself accountable, all right? What have we talked about? We're talking about, dear survivor, do what you can wherever you are. Formulate a plan, formulate a safety plan, and I'm saying formulate a safety plan, especially if you plan to stay. You'll need 3 plans. You'll need a plan for staying, if that's your objective at this point. You'll need a plan for the actual exit, the logistics of exiting. What is that going to look like? And you need a plan for after you exit. Whatever plan you devise, whatever plan you develop, try to do it with someone, like I said, who is seasoned and who is experienced in domestic violence specifically, not just someone who cares about you. The other thing you want to do, even post exit, is revisit the plan periodically and ensure that it remains a viable plan to ensure your safety in your life going forward. I've been talking about the importance of you, survivor, doing what you can. Be committed to ongoing education. While you're still in the situation, even though you're determined to stay in the situation, it can't hurt to be educated, right? Right? So you get educated, and if it's a situation that you should remain in, then the education will reinforce that you should remain. If not, it will reinforce the importance of your exiting and doing so in a safe manner. I cannot reiterate enough the importance of you developing a plan, formulating a plan with someone who is seasoned and who can help you to develop a viable plan that takes into account the risk and the threats inherent in your specific situation and circumstances. For a template for a safety plan, feel free to subscribe to our blog, Judah's Roar, www.judahsroar.com. And that's JUDAHSROAR-R.com. And you'll be sent a template for a safety plan. Other than that, you can visit domesticshelters.org, Battered Women's Justice Project. There are many, many resources out here. Domestic Violence Hotline, the National Hotline. All right. This is Apostle Cheryl. You be safe out there. Blessings to you.